Hello and welcome back everyone, we Weeb Online, and today I'm gonna start a new series. What if Kid Naruto got the experience and power of adult Naruto? Part 1. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
He looked around the room and gave a small smile. Even though it had been more than 12 years, he remembered this day. Iruka was going to walk through those doors soon. Mizuki would come after her soon. Soon, the rest of his life would start to happen, and if he wanted to, he could change it. He moved a strand of blonde hair out of his face. Blue eyes looked around the room again. Kiba was in the back room, grinning from ear to ear. Shikamaru was also sleeping in the back, but on the other side. Hinata was also in the back, putting her hands together in a weak way. As his eyes moved around, he saw the other 8. After that, it was Shino's turn. His friends. Sakura was a shy, meek little girl who would grow up to be a monster on her own. Sakura, who would one day be so strong that she could crush mountains with her bare hands. Sakura would grow up to be a strong, independent woman. She was a healer and a friend, but now she was a girl. A shy, quiet girl sat in the middle of the class, doing her best to be ignored. He wanted to go up to her, take her hand in his, and scream. Tell her to have faith in herself and that she will end up being one of the strongest women in the world. She looked up at him with a puzzled expression on her face before she blushed. He gave her a smile and then looked at Sasuke. Naruto didn't remember much about Sasuke when he was a child. He had no idea how he was doing now, as the doors slid open. Iruka walked in with his Chunin vest on, that long scar on his nose, and a small smile on his face. Naruto also smiled, but he stopped when he realized the man would still hate him. Was he going to do something? He was now. He was helpless, but he could do something. Just that it wasn't much. Hello class. Hello, sensei. They all said at the same time. Let me call roll, and we can all say hello. I hope you all have a good year. As Iruka started to call roll, Naruto fell asleep. He was thinking about things that were more important. He had 2 years. 2 years until all of the Uchiha were killed. He had been out of work for 2 years and had no idea what the hell he was going to do. Naruto. He yelled when he heard his classmates yell his name along with sinkers. Iruka looked annoyed as she said, "Sorry, sensei, I was daydreaming." Listen up, Naruto. Don't make it a habit, or you'll fail and other people will copy you. Iruka looked at him with brown eyes that looked into blue ones. He thought about this, and he almost smiled. But instead, he just stared, his blue eyes boring into the man's soul. Iruka watched without blinking, but then she suddenly turned away. "Hi, sensei," he said with a smile, "I won't let it happen again." He frowned as he saw Iruka flinch. He fell asleep again. But not as far down. Under each of your desks is a book. These books are a class set that is given to every student at the academy every year. As you get older and learn more, you'll get a new one every year. You should take care of these, because they will have your homework and assignments in them. Losing or damaging your textbook is not an excuse for not doing your homework. Now, let's start today's lesson. All you have to do is read the first chapter. It's easy. After that, we'll have a short talk and then do some exercises outside. How does that sound? Naruto stopped for a moment to give his book a quick glance. He laughed when he saw how easy it was, and then he went back to thinking about his own problems. Right now, the most important thing for him to do is try to deal with the Uchiha clan. 2 years away seemed like a long time, but it wasn't. Before he knew it, it would be here. Should he try to get rid of it? No, that was a bad idea. He would have to find a way to stop the coup that the Uchiha were planning. Keep the rest of the clan from being persecuted, even though you are stuck in the body of a 6-year-old. He couldn't save them, and even if he could, he couldn't. Naruto. He turned back to the room quickly. You should be reading the first chapter right now. He blinked for a moment. He had forgotten what a jerk Iruka had been before he liked him. I know the material already, sensei. Do you? Hi. Fine. Iruka smiled. How do the ninjas in the village rank? Naruto frowned as he said, Genin, Chunin, Special Junin, and AMBU. Should he be telling this much at all? He knew things he shouldn't have. At least, not when I was 6. But it was already too late, right? What's the difference between a Junin and a Special Junin? A Junin passes the Junin exams. A Special Junin gets a promotion because... He paused. What to say? If his vocabulary was too advanced, it would be a red flag that would make people pay attention to him. And then, we're ready. Naruto. Special Junin get promoted because they have skills. Another pause to find the right words. Skills in the right areas, like the medic nin. Most medic nin are promoted to special Junin after reaching Chunin because they are skilled medics and can heal the injured. They have skills that would put them in the Junin skill range, but it's specialized. Iruka was quite the classroom in the same way. Naruto looked up at him, his eyes going from blue to brown again. Very good, Naruto-kun. It looks like you know what's in this chapter. From now on, I'll expect the same from you. For a moment, Naruto was worried. He was already being careless. The class kept going, and after an hour, Iruka began to teach. He went over points quickly as he tried to learn as much as he could about the class in one day. During the lecture, he went over points to talk about before telling everyone it was time to leave. Iruka chose to talk once everyone was outside. We'll spend some time outside every day, he said, pointing at different places. Some were in the shape of people, while others were simple, large, circular targets with big red and white rings that got smaller as they went around. Today will be target practice, and tomorrow we'll see how we're going to rank you by putting you through a physical test. Kiba raised a hand. Yes. What's your name again? He got red in the face, and the kids laughed. Kiba. My name is Kiba, Iruka-sensei. Thank you, Kiba-kun. What do you want to know? We'll be ranked. Yes, your academic and physical performance will be scored and ranked over the next few years. These rankings will help us decide where to put you on a team when you graduate. He took a scroll out of his vest and said, now. Spreading it out on the floor and running a bloody thumb over it made a set of kunai appear in a puff of smoke. Let's talk about safety rules and how to follow them. We don't want any accidents, do we? Iruka said with a small laugh as he rubbed the back of his head. At that point, Naruto fell asleep once more. He had forgotten over the years how mind-numbingly boring most of the academy could be. Now that he knew what it would teach him over the next few years, it was even more important to him. He sighed and his face turned down. He was useless now, and he would be for a long time to come. It didn't help that he seemed to do things without much thought or care. As a Jinchuriki, he would be watched for sure. People thought about what he said and what he did. There's no doubt that Iruka's conversation with the Sandaime this morning would be told to them. He didn't know what would happen if he did something different or stupid. But then again, did he want the flow of time to stay the same? He was going to change things when he came back, so why not get started right away? Why not show everyone right away that he is skilled and talented enough to deserve respect? Why not put himself in a position where Sasuke would respect, listen to, and be friends with him? Someone on whom Sakura could rely. Someone Ji-san could be happy about right away. What was the point of cutting through the veil of time if you didn't take the chance to change everything? But then, he had to be sure about some things. The Uchiha had to die. He would try to stay away from them as much as possible, at least until the massacre was over. Naruto, would you like to go first? The class started laughing again, and he looked around a little bit confused. Iruka had a kunai in hand. Blade first, so it was easy for him to grab. He took hold of the handle and waited for the other person to let go of it before pulling. Iruka looked surprised at first, then smiled. It looks like you were paying attention, which is good. Why don't you try hitting the circular targets? You don't have to hit the bullseye the first time. Just try to hit it okay. I'll give you some tips to help you. He took a moment to look around. The other student couldn't take his eyes off of him, waiting to see how well he did. Sasuke stood out the most. His eyes looked like they are made of onyx. Keeping a close eye and waiting, he had a little grin on his face. He looked so innocent that Naruto almost laughed out loud. He went back to looking at the kunai. They were smaller than usual and lighter. The edges were a little worn down, but the point was still very sharp. In the Fire Country sun at noon, they shone. He picked them up to get a feel for how they weighed. There were 10 kunai and 5 targets. He grinned. He swung his arm and flicked his wrist to throw the first kunai. It went right past the target, and he could hear his classmates laughing behind him. They were a little lighter than he was used to, but not too much. That throw was a lot farther than he had thought. He went to get another kunai, but this time he had a smile on his face. He picked it up again and threw it with a flick of his wrist. It hit. It wasn't a perfect shot, but it was the second ring. When he heard the other kids stop talking, he smiled. He picked up and threw 2 more. The first shot hit the third inner ring, and the fourth shot hit the bull's eye. Then he took the last 6 and hit the target. Each and every time. No one talked in class. Gee, good job, Naruto-kun. He bowed and gave a small smile. He told the man, thanks, Iruka-sensei, in a slightly louder voice than usual. He smiled as he looked at what the other kids were thinking. XXX starting small 4x. When lunchtime came, Naruto sat at a table by himself. Hungry. Kids of all ages were running around and talking to each other in the small grassy field. He looked around with his blue eyes, and he could already see the old groups from his childhood coming together. Choji and Shikamaru sat under a tree and watched clouds while the bigger boy ate their lunches. Oh my god, he was starving. He let out a sigh and put his head on the lunch table. He forgot his lunch at the orphanage in the rush of his technique working and him actually going back in time through the time channels. Now, he was really, really hungry. His stomach made a noise. Heya! He lifted his head and put up his small hands to block the bright noonday sun. The sun blocked his view of the person in front of him, but after a few seconds he was able to see. Sasuke did it. Sasuke is short and small, and he's almost cute. With a shy expression and a bento box in his hand. Short white khakis and a blue shirt. His hair was falling on both sides of his head, but you could already see the beginnings of his strange hairstyle. Heya! For a moment, there was a tense silence. Last time, this didn't happen. What should he do? He made a decision. Want to sit down with me? Sasuke smiled and almost right away sat down. So, compared to what he remembered, his voice was so high-pitched. Sasuke, are you right? Yeah. He put out his hand and said, Hi, I'm Naruto. Nice to meet you. The other boy seemed surprised, but after some hesitation, Sasuke also put out his hand, and the two boys shook hands. What are your hobbies? Naruto had a feeling he would have to lead most or all of this conversation himself. Well, I like to train, especially with my Aniki, and I also like to hang out with my aunt and uncle. Those things aren't hobbies. Well, what are yours then? Asked Sasuke. His tone of voice was angry. I like. At this age, he couldn't remember anything else he did besides go to the academy. He blushed in shame and said, I guess I don't have any hobbies either. The other boy gave him a small smile. Well, then, what do you like to do? Well. A shout came from nowhere. Naruto looked back at the source. It was another Uchiha, but this one was older by 3 or 4 years. Naruto gave the teenager a raised eyebrow. He didn't remember much about the Uchiha, but based on what he did remember, this kid seemed to be one of them. He was tall, pale, and had a sharp, squared-off jaw. A white shirt and dark brown hair. He was wearing a ninja holster on his leg and black short khakis. Naruto smirked. He had forgotten about the whole, don't talk to the demon brat thing. That might get annoying in the future as he tries to change things as little as he can. When he was younger, he would have cared more that people didn't pay attention to him. Now, though, he didn't care, and most importantly, he knew that if he gave everyone enough time, they would all come around to his side or point of view. So, when the nameless Uchiha came over and yelled that Sasuke-sama shouldn't hang out with such trash, he just smiled a little. Naruto smiled and waved as the kid pulled Sasuke away by force. It was nice to talk to you while I had the chance, Sasuke. Maybe we can talk more in the future. Then, he was by himself. He was hungry, damn it. Beginning small XXX. The end of the school day came with the evening. Naruto waited outside the academy, but he didn't know for what. He watched the kids slowly walk around until their parents picked them up. He looked up at the blue sky, which was slowly turning a deep orange color. He should go back to the place where he grew up. But he didn't remember that place in a good way. So he would stay here for a few more minutes. He took a look. Still, Sasuke was there. Hey Sasuke. He ran over in a light but quick way. Hello. You're waiting for your parents to come and get you? Yes, I'm waiting for my mom to pick me up. My dad is the police chief of Konoha, so he can't come get me. He smiled at Sasuke and said, Cool. Are you still waiting for your parents? No, I'm an orphan. Some older kids were supposed to walk me back to the orphanage after school, but they left without me. So I'm here until I'm ready to go home. Sasuke looked surprised. Then she gave a sorry smile. Sorry, I don't know what was going on at lunch. Naruto just laughed about it. He had a big, toothy grin on his face. Don't worry about it, because I'm used to it. Sasuke-kun, have you made a new friend already? Naruto looked toward the sound. A woman did it. A woman who is about 5 feet 8 inches tall and has black hair and pale, soft skin. She smiled at them from above. It was a soft smile, like a mother's, that showed she was happy that her words had come true. This is Naruto, Ka-chan. He's in my class. Naruto bowed deeply to the mother of the Uchiha clan. Hello, Uchiha-san. And so polite. And so cute. See, Sasuke-kun. I told you it would be easy for you to make friends. Ka-chana, Sasuke moaned. Naruto chuckled. He had never seen Sasuke pout before, and the fact that he was only 6 made it even more fun. Naruto-kun, I'm sorry, but I have to go get little Sasuke-kun from you for now. We have to go home for now. See you tomorrow, hopefully? Yes, Uchiha-san, he said. She gave him a smile, took his hand, and pulled him away. Beginning small XXX, the orphanage stood out like a huge rock. Most of the time, he had forgotten about this place. But as he stood in front of it, all the memories came back to him. His tiny room in the back wing, the mean kids who picked on him, the cold matron. He looked mad. He did not like this place. He remembered seeing this place turn to rubble after Pain's attack and being glad that it had been destroyed. Then he felt bad as soon as he tossed away carelessly the broken-down home of so many orphans. He let out a sigh and walked through the 2 big wooden doors. Hey there, you shrimp. He turned when he heard a voice. It was a kid who was about 2 or 3 years older. Kakashi. He didn't remember much about the boy. This happened so long ago. Kakashi was about a foot taller than him and wore a black shirt and long tan pants. With brown hair that was curly and seemed to twist more than anything else around itself. A small, round face with brown eyes. He didn't pay attention to him and started walking toward what he thought was his room. Kakashi made things harder. Where are you going, shrimp? To my room. That just made him mad, it seemed. So you have a mouth, shrimp. What did I tell you about that mouth of yours? He tried to forget about him and move on. Kakashi pushed him to the ground and then hit him in the jaw with a right hook. Naruto snarled as he stood up. When he was 6 and this bully picked on him, he was too weak to do anything. He wasn't trained as a ninja when he was 6, and his body was weak. So what? Now that he had been trained, he knew how to fight like a ninja, even though his body was weak. His foot hit Kakashi in the crotch. The boy fell down, and his foot hit his head. The other abandoned kids stopped. He pushed down with his foot a 2nd and 3rd time. The 5th and the 4th. Kakashi stopped moving after the 6th. Blood was coming out of his mouth and nose and pooling on the floor. As his anger faded, he watched in horror. Fuck, fuck, fuck. If no one had noticed him before, this would be a big deal. God damn it. That night, he couldn't sleep. As he lay in bed, his mind was all over the place. Going over what had happened that day over and over again. What had happened just hours earlier? He was smarter. He was smarter. He was lying in bed with his eyes open wide. He had blue eyes that looked into the dark, empty space of his room. He knew in his mind not to attack. He knew he shouldn't attack. But when Kakashi pushed him, when the bigger boy did what Naruto remembered a lot of older, bigger boys had done before, Naruto lost it. He hit Kakashi with his foot, and before he knew it, Kakashi was on the ground with a small pool of blood under him. He sighed and swung his feet over the side of his bed with a grunt. The old woman who was always cranky was very angry. Her wrinkled face, which looked just like he remembered his grandmother's, turned into a look of disdain. Her high-pitched voice told him to stop hurting poor Kakashi. He felt angry again, but this time he was able to keep it in check. This time, it wasn't the kind of anger that made him lose his mind, but it still made his blood boil. He thought back to all the times he told her about the bullies, about Akashi's group of friends, about the pushing, hitting, and calling each other names. But nothing had happened, it hadn't stopped, and after he told them, it seemed to get worse. As soon as he put his feet on the ground, he started moving quickly toward the kitchen. As a punishment, she made him go to bed without dinner, and he could feel his stomach growling. He got into the kitchen by sneaking down the stairs and through a small side hall. He went to the refrigerator, opened it, and took an apple out. Then he went to the cabinet and opened it. When he saw a package of ramen, he smiled. He read it to get a taste of it. At first, it looked like glyphs for a few seconds, which made it hard to understand. Then, it became clear that it was writing. Miso. He was happy. His favorite was miso. He walked back to the cabinet and took out a tea kettle and a small towel for cleaning up spills. He put water in the kettle, put the towel on top of it to make it screech, and turned it on to boil. He sat down to wait. He had an idea, but he wasn't sure if it was a good one. His mind was that of an adult, but his body was still that of a child. With waves of strong feelings. He would have mood swings all the time. He would have to start meditating again to try to get control of his raging hormones, which were now flooding his mind. He bit into his apple with a crunch. He couldn't pay for more problems like the one that happened earlier this evening. He could sense that AMBU was watching him in a way that he hadn't before. Ji-san had no doubt already heard about what happened at school and at the orphanage. So, he got new minders to keep an eye on him and keep him from getting into more trouble. More bites of the sweet red fruit, which exploded in his mouth and filled it with juice. He smiled when he heard the quiet shriek of the kettle. He ate all of the apple and then threw it away. He put the water in the cup of instant ramen and waited 3 minutes for it to boil. When it was done, he ate and then threw away the cup of ramen, making sure to bury it under other trash to cover his tracks. He put the kettle and the rag away when he was done. What should we do? He heard himself say, the stars. They're looking pretty tonight. He might look at the stars, beginning small 4x. For his first day at the academy, Uzumaki-san shows a lot of skill. He seemed to be able to understand a lesson or discussion even when he was only paying half attention to it. I don't know what was going through his mind. He has surprising mental comprehension skills for his age, but we don't know how good they are yet because there aren't any standardized tests to measure students' abilities. He's sure to get a very high score, though. Not only that, but Uzumaki-san also has a natural ability to pick up new things quickly. In the Kunai throwing exercise, he got 10 out of 12 hits, which is a great score for someone his age. He also did this after only throwing a kunai 3 times to see how it felt and what it could do. Uzumaki-san has some of the traits of a genius. It is suggested that he be given extra care to make sure he gets the training he needs. As he read through the report, the old Cage gave a small smile. It seems like genius could be passed down, especially if both parents were smart. He might want to go see the boy. He had not seen the boy since he was 5 years old. After almost a year, the boy had surely forgotten about him. But, since the boy was going to the academy and something bad had happened earlier that night, it seemed like a good idea to pay him a visit. He got his pipe out of a small pocket on his vest, where he kept it. He put in the strawberry tobacco that his wife had bought for him just before she died many years ago and lit it. He inhaled it deeply and smiled. Then he took the second report. Report 11 CGLD Unit Name, Codename, Giraffe. Akashi-kun has been told off before for bullying both his peers and people who are younger than him. It's also important to note that, even though the orphanage matron stopped Akashi from picking on other kids, Uzumaki-kun still seemed to be picked on. It seems like the orphanage told Akashi-kun that he could do whatever he wanted with Uzumaki-kun as long as he left the other kids alone. From what we could tell about what happened, it seems like Akashi-kun started the fight by attacking Uzumaki-kun when Uzumaki-kun just wanted to be left alone. The fight that followed was short, but pretty rough. After Akashi-kun's first attack on Uzumaki-kun, Uzumaki went on the attack, leaving Akashi-kun with a concussion, multiple cuts, a broken nose, and a broken rib. Based on what we've heard from the other orphans and Akashi-kun, Uzumaki didn't seem to be afraid to attack. He tried to take out his bigger opponent quickly before going on a short but brutal attack. It's important to note that Uzumaki-san seems to have natural fighting skills and isn't afraid to finish an opponent who is already down. The old Cage made a small frown. Even though they were backed up, most kids didn't like to fight with each other, even though they did it all the time. Naruto-kun was not like most people in that he didn't hesitate to finish off a defeated opponent. He knew for sure that he would see Naruto-kun in the morning. He took out a crystal ball and sent a little chakra through it. He thought hard, and then he saw an image of a small boy lying down in a forest. He looked sad. Children, especially those with biju, shouldn't run off into the night by themselves. He made a sign with his hand, and an AMBU showed up in front of him. Owl, go to Squad 4 and ask them why Naruto-kun is outside at 11 at night. With a gust of wind, the AMBU was gone. The old Cage put his chair back and took a long, deep drag from his tobacco. Giraffe, can you make me some tea, please? Owl came back in a cloud of smoke and wind. Report. It looks like Uzumaki-kun sneaked out after sneakily getting something to eat. Why would he need to get food for himself? Hasn't the matron been giving him enough to eat? It looks like he was sent to bed without dinner as punishment. From what she has heard, this is a common punishment for him, and he is often punished, usually for small things. As a result, he seems to be malnourished. The old Kage frowned and then took a long, deep breath from his pipe. You know, Owl, that I have my own children, and I know that you do too. He paused for a moment, staring into the AMBU's face. Tell me what you think about a child being mistreated under the guise of a punishment. It's wrong, Hokage-sama. It's a stain on the world and on our village. Children should be treated like treasures. I want all appointments for tomorrow morning moved to the day after tomorrow or late in the evening. If they can reschedule, please apologize and promise to give them priority when they have a better time for us to meet. Hi, Hokage-sama. Beginning small XXX, he woke up wet and cold. He stumbled to his feet and looked around with a groan. He was in a sewer that he had been in before. The smell of blood was strong in the damp, dark place. Along the wall were thick red and blue pipes, but the red ones kept leaking into the blue ones. The water rose until it reached his waist. It was higher than he remembered, or maybe it was because he was a kid now. With some effort, he got to the top of the water and began a slow walk toward his best friend's home. If you count the sewer prison as his home and the huge demon fox he sometimes hung out with as a friend. After a few minutes, he showed up in front of the big cage. The bars were huge steel pillars that stood above his head and went higher than he could see. The gate was shut, but the seal that kept it shut was no longer there. He was happy. Kurama. No answer came back. He made a sad face, moved closer to the bars, and peered into the dark spaces between them. He just made it back in time as a clawed hand tried to slam down on his head. His small body jumped backwards, sending his golden hair flying and his clothes swaying in the wind of his mind. When he thought about the fox's laughter, he turned his face down. You're so small now, I just couldn't resist. So you tried to kill me. What if it didn't work and I didn't make it back? What if it was just child me? It wasn't, though, so your questions are pointless. I can't believe you actually did it or that they even let you, but with your luck, I'm not too surprised. Naruto gave the fox a smile. I told you that it would work. I didn't think it wouldn't. I just thought you'd find a way to mess it up, and we'd end up too far back or not far enough back. Looking at your size, I was right. The fox gave him a smile. In the deep black of his cell, his wide, man-sized teeth stood out against his large, red eyes that were staring down. Naruto laughed and then put his hand behind his back to cover up his shame. I went back in time. Give me a break, man. I haven't done this before, so. Yeah. But I think this time might be better than we planned. We have 6 more years to try to change things in small ways. If you say so. But I am worried. The fox's eyebrows went up in surprise. You? Worried? It gave a small laugh. Its deep voice kept reverberating in his mind's deep sewers. For what? I'm not acting like myself, or at least not like my old self. I got into a fight today. That seems just like you. No, I mean. I knew I should ignore the kid and just walk by, but when he pushed me, I lost it. I haven't been that angry that fast in years. I don't know what's going on. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyway. That's not like me. I'm not human, so I don't know much about human emotions and what causes them. I don't think or feel like you do. I'm made of chakra, so the chemical reactions that affect you don't affect me at all. Naruto made a grumpy face and then sat down. He put his hand in the water below him and made ripples go in all directions. He looked up at the fox again, and then back down at the water. So, have your plans changed? The original plan was to wait a few years for Obito to reveal himself and try to keep Sasuke around if we could. You know, now that I think about it, when I heard it from you, it wasn't really that clear. Neither of us is good at making plans, the fox said. What do you think about the Uchiha? I can't do anything about the Uchiha. I'm too small, too weak, and just useless in general. And if I could do something, then what? Stop the Uchiha massacre and have a civil war that tears Konoha apart? Tell people I'm from the future, prove it, and then get mind raped for information about the future. I started trying to befriend Sasuke today, and that's the only thing to do. Try to change Sasuke. He made a face and then gave a long, deep sigh. I'm still trying to decide if I should try to keep things the same or just give up on everything and say, fuck it. Go for it. If you're willing to pull back the curtain on time and space, why walk on eggshells? Stop acting like a kitten afraid of its own tail. The fox knew what to do. He'd already come this far, so why stop now? He'd bet everything. No matter what would happen, he'd change things to the way he thought they should be. XXX staring small XXX when he woke up, the old matron was standing over him with a frown. She looked at him, then at the open window in his room. From where he was lying, he could see her deep wrinkles, her silver hair that was slowly turning white, and her deep, deep cracks. She laughed at him and showed him her white teeth next to her red gums. "Get up, boy, and get ready. The Hokage is coming to see you this morning, so hurry." She looked at the window one more time. "Keep that window shut at night, or all the cold air will escape." She went to his closet, took out a white t-shirt and a pair of small brown khakis, and put them, along with a comb, on his bed. "Put these on after you take a shower and comb your hair, because it looks like a rat's nest." With that, she left his room in a hurry. He went out into the hall and headed for the bathroom. Since his door was the farthest from the bathroom, he often took baths with lukewarm or cold water as a child. He walked in. 30 minutes later, he came out of the bathroom after taking a shower, brushing his teeth, and putting on the clothes she had given him. He then went downstairs after combing his wet hair. The old man and the matron both had to wait. The old man looked very big. The old cage seemed to tower over him like a giant. Seeing him brought up feelings and memories that had been buried for a long time. He thought for a moment that he was going to go crazy. He felt pain in his chest, tears in his eyes, and a shaking in his body. Then he brought it back in. Getting a grip on these feelings and tying them down. He knew better than to lose his temper in front of this man. He took a single, deep breath. "Hello, Hokage-sama." He looked surprised at first, but then he smiled a little wider. He looked at the matron of the orphanage, and she quickly left. He tried not to laugh. The old man said, "Hello, Naruto-kun." He reached out his hand, and Naruto did the same. "Hokage-sama, I don't know if this is rude, but could I ask why you want to talk to me?" Again, the Hokage looked surprised at first, then a little bit happy. "I heard that you showed a lot of talent yesterday. I like talking to people who might be talented, and the fact that you're an orphan makes me even more interested. Naruto-kun, have you eaten breakfast yet?" "No." "Then why don't we walk to a restaurant I know that serves good tea? Maybe we can get to know each other better." "So, Naruto-kun, how are you doing?" the old man asked. His words echoed around the room. It was a small, quiet place to eat. The waiters were busy moving from table to table and getting ready for the day. It was big, square, and in the middle. It faced a large garden in the middle. The floor was made of bamboo wood, and the air smelled strongly of tea as the sun rose. Naruto gave him a small smile. "Good. I heard that you showed some talent yesterday, which is good to hear." Naruto turned to look at the old man. This was weird. We didn't plan for this to happen. The AMBU weren't supposed to keep an eye on him for another year, but they did. He had only been here for a few hours, but he had already changed things. And what did the old man mean by this? Why even meet with him? Why not just see what happens? Thanks. Yes. The old man was quiet for a moment, and Naruto didn't know how to feel about it. Those deep pools of brown that looked up at his own blue sky. What should he have done? Like an infant. "How do you like living at the orphanage, Naruto-kun?" He was very calm. This was an opportunity. After the old man met him, it took him a year to get out of the orphanage. Now, he couldn't pass up this chance. He'd take it. "I don't like it," he told the old man. "The kids are mean, and no one wants to play with me. The matron is a cranky old hag." The old man laughed and raised an eyebrow. "And when I tell her I'm hungry, she says I'm lying and greedy. But I'm not. I really am hungry." He was quiet for a moment and looked down into his cup of rich, dark tea. The old man took a sip, sighed happily, and gave him a smile. "Continue please." "The kids are mean. They pick on me all the time, and when I tell the matron, she doesn't do anything about it. But when I hit them back, I get punished. I get punished all the time, even for things I didn't do." He pouted. He frowned when he heard himself say, "My room is also small and cold." Those problems were so silly, they were so silly. Yet, when he looked up at the old man, he could see that his soft brown eyes were getting more serious. "It's not good for you there. Absolutely not. How would you feel if you had your own apartment? It might be lonely, but I'll have people come cook for you and help you out every week." "My own apartment just for me, right?" The old man gave a grin. His wrinkled face broke into a wide-toothed smile. "Yes, and you'll also get a small allowance to buy food, clothes, toys, ninja tools, or whatever else you want." That's nice to hear. Nice. Naruto finished his tea and said, yeah. He then stood up. Nice. He checked the time and saw that it was almost 8. Soon, the academy would begin. The academy will soon begin. You can tell time? He looked shocked and surprised. Naruto cursed to himself. 6-year-old kids weren't supposed to be able to tell time until they'd been in an educational facility for a while. Yeah. My, Naruto-kun, you're always surprising me, he said with a smile, and Naruto smiled back. Let's get you over to the academy. Naruto got up. He gave the old Kage a proud smile with his white teeth, and the old man smiled back in kind. As they were leaving the tea shop, the old man put his hand out. After looking at it for a while, Naruto figured out what the old man wanted and put his hand in his. The rough, calloused palms of the old man wrapped around his hand. Then they started walking, and he stopped thinking about her. XXX Sarutobi XXX. As they walked, the old Kage looked down at his young charge. The boy in front of him was obviously a genius, a prodigy like the hegemony he came from. The little blonde boy was very smart. He spoke with the clear intent of an adult, and his bright blue eyes showed that he was smart. Calculating intelligence. The innocent child knew a lot more about the world than he let on. Sarutobi looked around. He frowned when he saw his people looking at him and Naruto with looks of disapproval, fear, and hatred in their eyes as they walked along. He looked at the boy and realized that Naruto didn't give a damn about anything. The boy was thinking about himself. He either didn't notice the looks or didn't care. More likely than not, it was the second. But he was a lot like his father. That blonde hair, those blue eyes, and now that genius intelligence. People would probably start putting things together pretty quickly. When he thought about what he had just said, he stopped for a moment. People would soon want to know who Naruto Uzumaki's parents were. They probably wouldn't take long to figure it out either. He cursed under his breath. He'd have to do things, hide things, and work with other people, and that would be enough for smart people to figure out what was going on. Oji-san. He looked at the little blonde girl who was holding his hand. It looks like whatever kept the boy busy no longer does. He gave the child a smile to hide his own irritation and worry. Yes, Naruto-kun? Is there something wrong? Paying attention, kid. No, Naruto-kun, not at all. I was just lost in my own thoughts. The boy smiled and said, okay. The Kage took one more look around. He looked sad. He had worked with smart kids for almost all of his life. All of his students, the Sannin, had been very smart. His son, Minato, Kakashi, Orochimaru. So many smart people and so much potential went to waste. Geniuses were born in Konoha, but they didn't seem to stay there for long. Too much like his father, the child was smart. A village full of people who don't know much and are full of fear and hate. A child who knew for sure that people in his village didn't like him. He looked sad. Another thing that will fail. They kept walking without talking. After a while, the big gates of the academy came into view. Ji-san, we're here. That seems to be the case, Naruto-kun. XXX Sasuke thought that Naruto was strange. But in a good way. He is very smart, in fact brilliant. Like Ni-san, who is a genius in a group of ordinary people. But, unlike Ni-san, Naruto wasn't. So sad. Yesterday, we only got a small look at Uzumaki Naruto. He got to see more today. Naruto was so fast that it seemed like he could run forever. 30 laps around the academy were nothing to him, but the other kids were passing out on the ground and gasping for air after doing that many laps. Naruto was fast. He could run through the training course at the academy in less than a minute and a half, while it took him 5. Naruto was smart enough to follow the lesson without paying much attention to it. Naruto was weird, intelligent, fast, and a genius. He didn't have to choose Sasuke as his friend, but Sasuke was glad he did. So, all I'm saying is that Mizuki-sensei's a dick. Sasuke threw up the rice he ate. What? Naruto said, he's a dick. He had a serious look on his face, and his brows were raised. Sasuke could see that this was a big deal for his new lunch partner. He didn't know why his mother seemed to want him to hang out with well, he wasn't a complete idiot, but he was kind of weird. What makes you say that? When practicing taijutsu, he put all the clan kids against kids from other clans. Did he? Yes, Naruto told him as he raised an eyebrow in surprise. Yes, he did. You and I are 2 examples, right? Sasuke nodded and tried to follow. The fight between you and me was pretty even. That's because you're trained in taijutsu and probably have been since you could walk. He had been training in taijutsu for as long as he could remember. Still, he gave Naruto one more look. How much practice with taijutsu have you had? Huh? How much practice with taijutsu have you had? The boy looked down, picked up one of Sasuke's rice balls from his bento, and bit into it. Sasuke's eyebrow went up, and Naruto's did, too. He forgot about it because he thought it would be pointless to try to deal with it. Naruto smiled when he gave up. None, but I've been in fights before. Sasuke nodded and ate some more rice. Like I was saying, it's not fair, and it's not even good for growth. Putting someone who doesn't know how to fight against someone who's been training in it since they could walk sets up an expectation of pain and a learning curve that's a little too steep. Naruto thought for a moment. He gave a quick glance toward the wooded area of the academy's training grounds. Sasuke almost didn't see it because it happened so quickly. It makes it look like clan kids with training are naturally better than non-clan kids without training. It's unfair. The first year of the academy is all about evaluations. It's to teach us the basics and see how well we do. He's messing with those results. That's. Sasuke was quiet, and his face showed that he was shocked. That's not right. Naruto smiled at him with a wide, sly grin and said, "See, he's acting like a jerk." Sasuke looked angry. His face showed that he was unhappy. You're planning something, right? No, but give me a little time and I'll come up with something. Sasuke moaned, looked at Naruto one more time, and sighed. I'm not sure if I want to do anything you have planned. Don't worry. I'm sure that whatever I come up with won't be too bad. But I don't want anything to do with it. Did you say something? The lunch bell rang, and they had to go back to class before he could answer. XXX Naruto XXX. His new guards and watchers were still following him. He let out a sigh of irritation, but he kept going in the same direction. Naruto looked at the small silver key in his hand with his blue eyes. Still, he smiled and held it tighter. As he walked, the building came into view. It looked just like he remembered it before Pain's attack tore it down. The building is round and has 3 stories. From where he was, he could see the red paint that had turned pink over time. He could also see the rich red tiles, which had faded and turned white because of the sun. He let out a quick yelp and ran toward the apartment building because he was so excited. When he got to the front door, he walked through the main office building and gave the landlord a casual wave. He was about to walk by him when he remembered that he wasn't supposed to know where his apartment was. He stopped, turned around, and smiled at the man. He walked up to the counter and stood on his toes to look over it. The landlord looked down, and as he did, his glasses fell off his face and he got a curious look on his face. Hi. Yes, little boy. Naruto said with a huff. He hadn't been asked to bring in a boy in years, but he was still a kid. I'm looking for. He stopped, reached into his pocket, and pulled out the small square of paper the AMBU in the giraffe mask had given him on the way to the orphanage. Apartment 29C. The landlord looked him over, yawned, and reached behind his desk for a bottle of water. He took a big drink, wiped his mouth, and let out a happy sigh. There are 3 floors in the apartment building. The ground floor is A, the second floor is B, and the top floor is C. Apartment 29C is on the top floor, to the far right. Thanks. He took the piece of paper from the landlord's desk and went to his room. The apartment wasn't the same. This one was actually a little bit better. The paint looked fresh, the floor had just been cleaned, and none of the furniture looked used. Best of all, it looked like they had made a few changes to make it fit a child's size. There were stools of different heights lined up against the wall in the kitchen. The doorknobs seemed smaller, making them easier for people with smaller hands to turn. He smiled and then did a little jump because he was happy. There was a table in the middle of the apartment. It wasn't too big or too small. A note was on top of it. He quickly looked through it after grabbing it. To Naruto-kun, Naruto-kun, this apartment is yours. I hope you like it. You will have healthy bento boxes ready for you in the morning and evening. You'll also have a bento box for lunch ready for you in the morning. A small amount of money, called a stipend, will be given to you every month. You can use this to buy clothes, ninja tools, small meals to eat on the go, or even toys if you want to. It's yours to spend however you want, but if it looks like you're spending it foolishly, it will be taken away and you'll have to learn how to handle money. There is new furniture in the apartment, and the walls have just been painted. Tell the building's owner about any problems as soon as you can. He will take care of them, but don't wait too long or a small problem could become a big problem. There is a small set of ninja supplies in the closet hall to help you get started at the academy. Your clothes from the orphanage are in the dresser in your room. You can find soap and a new toothbrush in the bathroom. Remember, hygiene is important, Naruto-kun. Don't skimp on it. Naruto-kun, I hope this helps you. Sarutobi Hiruzen Sandame Hokage. Naruto stopped reading the letter and went to his room. In the corner was a small twin-sized bed. He sighed and fell face first into it. The last 2 days were hard work. The academy was dull, hard, and took a long time. Most of the kids in his class were just kids. They were annoying little monsters who drove him crazy. Iruka-sensei was being a jerk because he didn't know any better, and Mizuki was being an even bigger jerk because, well, he was Mizuki. So far, Sasuke has been friendly. Naruto sighed. He didn't know how long that would last. So many ways to go. So much to pick from. He needed to speak to Kurama. He closed his eyes, slowed his breathing, and fell into the cage home where his one friend lived. The Kyuubi was there, and his huge body was resting behind his huge cage. He looked down with his big, red eyes. Got you. I am. Why? I'm sad. Of course. How does changing the future work? I now have a place to live. The old man is interested in me, and Sasuke eats lunch with me. That's a thing. So. Kurama laughed. His voice filled up his thoughts and echoed off the walls. Then he stopped talking and got quiet. Does living in the village bother you? No, I'm used to it. Plus, I have you and I know I'll be able to make friends in the future, so that desperate need I felt to belong and be noticed isn't there. Good. Naruto smiled, which made the Kyuubi smile back. They stopped talking and just enjoyed being with each other. The world around Uzumaki Naruto moved the whole time. It moved forward a little bit each second. 1 moment, 1 second, time and space keep moving forward. He ran forward and jumped, twisting his leg and spinning it in a circle before bringing it down in an overhead kick. He knew Sasuke would block it, so he used his speed against him. As Sasuke fell, he grabbed his arm, pulled him to the ground, and punched him in the stomach. It was a dirty move, and when it worked, he smiled, pulled his feet together, and kicked Sasuke in the stomach. Sasuke flew off of him, and Naruto stood up with a sense of victory. Time. He looked at Iruka-sensei with a raised eyebrow and waited. Congratulations, Naruto-kun. This is your first win over Sasuke-kun. You've come a long way in the last month. Everyone else in the class was quiet. They would be, of course. The fight between him and Sasuke was brutal, at least in the eyes of academy students, because at least once blood was drawn. They just watched and didn't say anything, just like they had done every time he and Sasuke spent time together in the past few months. He grunted, stretched his sore body, and limped over to Sasuke. The angle of that last kick was wrong, and he pulled something. He made a light joke and said, "Come on, let's go to the hospital. Your face is bleeding everywhere." Sasuke laughed. Naruto put out his hand, and Sasuke took it. Then, with a grunt, they got up and limped to the infirmary, leaning on each other for support. Now, Kiba-kun and Shino-kun, why don't you also come over here and fight? Maybe not as enthusiastically as Naruto and Sasuke-kun though. As Sasuke and Naruto got closer to the infirmary, Iruka's voice got quieter. Naruto turned to his friend as they limped through the halls and smiled. I gave you the boot. Who would have thought it would only take you 15 spars to do it? Naruto laughed and kept walking. He made a face at Sasuke and said, for a genius, you act pretty stupid. Your attacks are clear enough for me to see, but I can't defend myself quickly enough. So when you get faster, all of a sudden you'll beat me. Sasuke laughed at him. I doubt it. Start of class rankings on Monday. Do they? Are you ready to live in my shadow, Sasuke? To enjoy my power? Naruto, don't be so proud of yourself. I could do that too. I know, and that will make you look even worse when I beat you for it. Naruto looked at Sasuke and smirked. His face turned into a wide-toothed grin. He liked Sasuke the most out of all the kids in his class. Even though he was only 6, he was smart and very grown up for his age. Even though he wasn't a child, he didn't seem to be able to connect with kids his age. However, Sasuke seemed to be just the right mix of mature enough to be tolerable and childish enough that it was fun to spend time with him and accept his own childlike nature. He had learned some things in the past month. The academy was much less interesting than he had ever thought. Especially as an adult. The lessons were boring and long. He read through the material they gave him in minutes, processed it in half that time, and was done with his work almost as soon as they gave it to him. He had also seen how annoying a group of 6-year-olds can be. On the one hand, they were easy to influence and had picked up on how their parents felt about him. During the first week, they tried to pick on him, but he didn't care, so they quickly gave up. Then, when it was clear that he was much better than them, they tried to make friends with him, but he soon found he couldn't even stand them. You keep on thinking that. I will keep thinking that, Sasuke, and I'll drink your tasty tears as I show you that you're wrong. I've heard that Uchiha tears are the best. You just made that up. And? Sasuke didn't say anything, so Naruto laughed at him. It was so simple to mess with him. He looked up and saw them. The hospital. The big cross painted in red and white on its wooden doors. A nurse stood outside with a look of impatience on her face. She gave them both a mean look. Naruto-kun and Sasuke-kun, why is there always blood when you two fight? Because we're manly men. Naruto asked in a flirtatious way, making the nurse frown. She scowled at them, but both boys smiled back. This was a bit of a routine for them and the head nurse. Two wrenches in a cage keep hitting each other because they think that if they knock the other one out, they'll be free. But all they're doing is using up the few brain cells that could help them get out. That's a made-up comparison, Naruto said once again. The nurse huffed in anger and turned around. As she did, she grabbed both boys by the arms. Come in, I need to fix up a couple of idiots. XXX Sakura XX. She was quiet as she ate with them. Sakura would usually think that people like Naruto and Sasuke wouldn't notice her. Naruto and Sasuke were smarter than anyone else. Sasuke was the second son of a clan leader, and his brother was already a chunin and on the fast track to becoming a junin. He probably trained to be a ninja his whole life. In fact, Sasuke could use chakra when he was only 6 years old. Naruto. Naruto was kind of like Sasuke, but he wasn't. He was sometimes like the rest of them, having fun and not caring about anything. But sometimes, when he thought no one was looking, she saw a look in his eye. She saw something in his eyes that told her he was smarter than he seemed. She saw him taking stock, looking around, and giving what he was seeing a lot of thought. If the two of them were birds, Sasuke was a hawk soaring high in the clouds, swooping down to strike his prey and stealing them into the skies, and Naruto would be an eagle or a falcon, flying even higher, touching the brim of space before diving down towards death in a defiant call, waiting until the last instant to grab its prey, killing it from the force of the blow, and she'd be that prey. She didn't know why the boys chose to help her, but she was glad they did. She could still remember the meeting too well. She was crying while her bullies stood over her and pushed her down as she tried to stand up. Meek was used to being teased, which had been going on for a long time before she came to the academy and still did. She was ready for more bullying that day, and she got it. But this time, when they pushed her down and started making fun of her for being weak, a blonde boy came running in. It was him. Naruto. Naruto is brilliant, smart, and strong. Naruto could keep up with Sasuke even though he didn't have a clan or any training. Naruto seemed to spend most of class staring into space and not paying attention, but he still did well on tests and in class. It was almost funny how easy it seemed for him to do well. Sasuke had been following him, but it looked like he didn't want to. Sasuke, who works hard and takes things seriously, seems to be just as smart as Naruto. From the start, they didn't get along. When they first met, they talked. They sat together the next day. On the third day of the academy, Naruto and Sasuke were talking excitedly, and Sasuke was following them with a smile on his face. They looked like the knights in shining armor that Hokage-chan told her stories about when she was younger. After a fight that wasn't very fair, the bullies went their separate ways, and there they stood. Night and day. As he looked down at her, Naruto was as happy as the sun. He had a big smile on his face, and his bright blue eyes were filled with joy. Sasuke looked down at her with a look she couldn't quite put her finger on. The darkness of his eyes and hair made her think of the night. As she turned to watch them, she smiled. Naruto ate ramen so fast that the noodles filled his cheeks and the broth slowly dripped down his lips. Sasuke ate his more slowly, but it looked like he had picked up some of Naruto's speed when he was eating. Naruto-kun, could you maybe eat a bit more slowly? But Sakura-chan, we only have 15 minutes left, and it takes 10 minutes to walk back to the academy. I have to eat it quickly or it will go to waste. You really want me to waste good ramen, Sakura-chan? Are you really that evil? Her big blue baby eyes looked at her in a pleading way. She smiled. 5 minutes until dinner. Had she really been so busy with her own thoughts for so long? She hadn't eaten much that day, so she was sure to be hungry by the time school was over. Come on, idiot, Sakura, let's go. We don't have much time left. Sasuke was done, and Naruto finished his second bowl a few seconds later. By Tuchi-san, see you later, goodbye, Naruto-kun. Sakura spoke up as they walked. I talked to my mom. She asked, and Sasuke answered, which she hadn't expected. He seemed mostly uninterested in her, but over the past 2 weeks he seemed to be slowly opening up. Ka-san said it's okay. We can train after school. She thinks it'll be good for me since you two are at the top of the class and I'm third, but only because of my grades. Naruto was very happy. He looked at Sasuke and gave a sly grin. See, I told you her parents would be okay with it, so pay up. Sasuke muttered and put his hand in his pocket. He took out a 200 ryo bill, which was probably 2 weeks' worth of his allowance, and gave it to the boy. Naruto put it in his pocket and gave Sasuke a pat on the back. We can't win all of them, Sasuke. Yeah, whatever, Naruto, he said. You guys bet on me. She didn't know what to say or do. No. She stared at Naruto, and Naruto stared back. The awkward silence caused by Naruto's brazen lies spread through the small group. Naruto smiled at her when she laughed. Come on, guys, let's go to class. XXX Sarutobi XXX. He leaned back in his chair, and his wrinkled, saggy face changed into a scowl as he did so. As he often did, he sighed and picked up the wooden pipe on his desk. He put tobacco in it, lit it, and took a big drag of the rich smoke. His eyes went over the weekly report about the child he was in charge of. It had become a habit to do this. Over the past 8 weeks, he had his AMBU keep an eye on Naruto-kun and record his daily activities so that they could be put together at the end of the week into a report. He read the report again, but this time he looked at the different notes that both his academy teacher and his Chunin sensei had written. Naruto seemed to be making great progress, and it looked like the boy would be ready for battle in less than 2 or 3 years. He would have to start hiding and lying about the boy's background right away. He made a sign with his hand. Jaguar. The masked AMBU sped up and appeared in front of him. Call the head librarian and the records administrator to my office. Have my assistant make some tea and make sure she brings honey and sugar in saucers. If I remember right, Doshita-san likes the taste of honey on its own. Jaguar bowed deeply, and then in a blur, it was gone. The old cage took a deep breath of smoke in the meantime. He let the nicotine settle in his lungs and spread through his body, and then he slowly breathed it out. After a few minutes, his assistant came in with 3 cups of freshly brewed tea and saucers of sugar and honey. She put them down and then gave him a deep bow. Hokage-sama, is there anything else I can do for you? No, thank you. If I need your help again, I'll give you a call. Yes, Hokage-sama, he said. He used the short break to read through the weekly report again. He laughed as he read about the things his young charges did. Naruto seemed to have decided to play a bunch of pranks on his taijutsu sensei, which he called missions, because he was bored. The small acts of terrorism planned against the man were pretty well done, and if AMBU hadn't been there to watch Naruto and his friends do them, he wasn't sure anyone would have known about them. His 2 little friends also seemed to know a lot for their age. One of them was Fugaku's child, which doesn't come as much a surprise given his family. The other person surprised herself a lot. She was 3rd in her class and the daughter of a council member from the civilian side. It looks like Naruto-kun was making friends with some of the more skilled people in his class. The pattern didn't seem very random, and from talking to the boy, he got the sense that, even though the boy could be wild, he didn't do much without a plan. What did the boy do for fun? Hokage-sama, did you call? A quiet knock from an older woman filled his office. She had white hair and the same wrinkles on her face as he did. Still, despite all that, her sharp blue eyes saw everything and showed how smart she was. Good afternoon, Doshita-san. Would you like a seat and some hot tea? She grabbed the cup and poured the golden honey from the saucer into it. She used a small spoon to stir it for a couple of minutes. Then she drank some water and smiled. This is good, Hokage-sama, he said. I'm glad you like it, because I still remember what you liked when we were kids. She gave him a teasing smile and then laughed. You old dog, you. Are you trying to make me like you so you can ask an old lady for a favor? We're the same age, Doshita-chan. So it's Doshita-chan again? Sarutobi asked with a smile. It is. She sipped some more tea and sighed. So, tell me, what do you want? I want Uzumaki Naruto's record to be sealed and blacklisted for at least the next 7 to 8 years. Getting on a blacklist. How many steps? He stopped for a few seconds. He hadn't considered that. A blacklisting was a thorough sorting job. The Hokage's seal was used to apply special ink, which made all files and records about something that couldn't be seen by anyone but the Hokage. The jumps meant that they were linked to the people or things that were on the blacklist. 3. 3? She stopped drinking her tea and looked at him as if she wanted to make sure. He nodded, and she let out a sad sigh. Who was it again? Uzumaki Naruto. Oh, that makes sense. I've heard that he has quite a reputation as a young genius. Yes, it's easy to see that we'd rather keep things safe for the time being. I don't think we'll need all 8 years, but anything to keep prying eyes guessing. She took another sip of her tea and said, I understand. His father looked down at him, and the light from the candles made his dark brown eyes and jet black hair shine. He looked at Sasuke, read over the form, and then read it again. Sasuke stood still as he waited for his father to decide what to do. Even though it was hard to tell with his father, he seemed happy. The man's face looked like a stone monument. It was a solid, unchanging structure that didn't change no matter what. You've done pretty well, Sasuke. He was happy about that. Sasuke thought that was a good thing. He had heard his parents fighting about who he was friends with. At first, his father didn't want Sasuke to hang out with Uzumaki Naruto. But as the months went by and it became clear that Naruto was a genius of a different kind, his father stopped complaining. When it became even clearer that Naruto was taking advantage of the people around him, including Sasuke and Sakura-chan, he would sometimes hear praise. I think this would be good for you. Do you think your friends will also try it? Hi, Tu-san. His father went back to being quiet. His face did not change. I'd like to meet Naruto, your friend. Tell him he's invited to dinner. That was the end of it. Sasuke was given permission to go to his room. He let out a sigh as the heavy fear in his chest went away. He saw his mother in the hallway as he walked to his room. She gave him a small smile, and he knew that she had something to do with this. Whatever it was. Ka-san. Sasuke-kun. Her voice was kind. He smiled and looked at her. She gave him a smile back, and that was enough. She didn't mean any harm, so he went to his room. He sighed in frustration as he walked in. It looked like Naruto was good at that. Causing trouble and making things harder than they need to be. Now he had to worry about how the idiotic genius would act at a formal event. He didn't think Naruto would know how to make a good dinner. This meant that he would have to teach him, or else it would look bad on him that he didn't at least try to teach the orphan boy something. He put his feet up and took a scroll from his desk. The writing on the scroll was in Naruto's neat, flowing handwriting. The color was orange, which was a strong color that made him angry. Scrolls made by hand with exercises for the chakras. He smirked. Naruto was good at getting information that he wasn't supposed to have. Sasuke was glad he had listened to his mother and tried to make friends with the blonde. It had paid off, and Sasuke could already tell he was better off because of it. They had all gotten something out of their odd friendship. The fact that his father was willing to meet Naruto just showed that. He read the scroll one last time, made sure he remembered it, and put it away so it could be burned later. Someone knocked on his door. Enter. She had a small smile on her face as she walked in. She kept walking until she was sitting on his bed. She looked sad and happy at the same time. She was holding the form for early graduation that he had given to his father. Sasuke. Her voice seemed to stutter. Are you really sure about this? Naruto thinks that we're ready. She laughed and agreed with you. People in Konoha knew about the 3 of them. They got the top 3 spots in their class and were miles ahead of everyone else. Most people agreed that it was because of the boy with blonde hair, but not everyone did so gladly or as a compliment. Even so, Sasuke didn't know this. She looked at him and sighed as she asked, does he? She suddenly hugged him, held him tight, and sighed. She shook again, and he felt a drop of water hit the top of his head. Sasuke, be strong, be smart, and be careful. I don't want to bury any of my children. Ka-san. She gave him the form and stood up. Get some rest, Sasuke-kun. Tomorrow will be hard for you. She bent down and kissed him on the head before leaving the room. He looked at his door and waited for something, anything, maybe even her to come back. But his mother didn't come back, so he went back the way he came. He came to understand something. He'd have to teach Naruto proper etiquette. Since Naruto was an orphan, no one would expect him to know how to act properly. But he wasn't, and Naruto's lack of good manners would make him look bad. As he jumped on his bed, he sighed. He looked up at the ceiling, then fell asleep without even realizing it. The next day went smoothly. He got up and got ready, then went to Naruto's house to meet the boy with the blonde hair. When he told Naruto about the dinner invitation, Naruto laughed with that smile that showed he knew what was going on. He'd made an angry face and then sighed. You knew that this was going to happen. He looked at Naruto, raised an eyebrow, and said, eventually. Do you know how to behave and what the rules are? He laughed once more. Then nodded. Come on, Sasuke, he said with a silly grin. Of course I do. Naruto grabbed his wrist and started to run, so he had no choice but to go after him. He grunted as he was pulled out of Naruto's apartment. Slow down. No, what the hell, Naruto, slow down. The blonde turned around and pulled him harder, which made him go faster. As they sped up, the village became a blur and flew by him quickly. Where do we want to go? To Sakura-chan's. Is there something wrong? Why are we in such a rush? To see if her parents signed, of course. Sakura's parents were just regular people. To graduate early, your parents or guardians had to sign the forms that let you go. An easy task for Sasuke and Naruto. Naruto was smart, and it seemed like the Hokage cared about the orphan boys' well-being. Because they were ninjas and Itachi had graduated early, Sasuke's parents signed. Civilians thaw. He freed his hand and then did what he remembered from one of Naruto's chakra exercises, pushed chakra into his feet. The blur turned into a tunnel of streaking colors. He felt Naruto's hand grasp around his own again, leading him to where they should go. After a few minutes they suddenly stopped. Sakura's home was a large thing. Yet it was also humble. Painted a simple eggshell white, red rose bushes waited on either side of its walls. The two of them took a few seconds to get themselves presentable. They knocked and waited. The silence was tense. Sakura came to the door a few seconds later, with a smile on her face. Did you say what I told you to say? Yes, she said. Idly he wondered what Naruto told Sakura to tell her parents. And? They said yes. He smiled and Naruto yelped in excitement. He watched as his blonde-haired friend wrapped Sakura, and then him, in a wide and tight hug. Then, like an ass, he started to gloat. See? What did I tell you, Sasuke? Naruto. Sakura tried to stand up for him, but it was a weak defense at best and Naruto kept at it. Who was right? That's right, me. I was right. Ass. But this ass was right, Sasuke. Then the blonde laughed and Sasuke frowned in response. Buddha, we're not done. We still have to pass the exams. I think we should be prepared but still. Are you sure they'll put us on the same team? Sasuke looked at the blonde again and waited for a response from Naruto. We will be. The politics of the whole situation ensures we will be. What? Sasuke-kun's right. What? Think about it. 3 geniuses graduating early at the same time like the 3 Sannin. One of them is the daughter of the head of the civilian council. The other is the second son of the largest and most powerful clan in Konoha. The last is an obvious genius, and can clearly be seen leading the other 2. And best of all, we work together, we're friends, and they see us together all the time. They'd be stupid to not put us on a team. And the political pressure to put us on a team will be too strong. You seem confident about this. He looked at Naruto a second time. He did this all the time, went from buffoon to analyst, to buffoon like a swing. He smiled at him. I've never been wrong before, Sasuke. I am not going to start being wrong anytime soon. XXX the Sandame XXX. His brown eyes stared into the wooden walls. He took a puff of his pipe, leaned back into the rich, padded leather of his chair, and smiled. Moments like these were rare. It was moments like these, with no paperwork, and no imminent business to deal with that he lived for in this office. It's in moments like these, with the Konoha sun setting in the window, and a cool breeze wafting in as the day started to end, that he liked to sit and just think to let his mind wander and just ponder on the various things it wished. Recently it wished to think of a young blonde with eyes like the sky, and a mind as sharp as his parents', perhaps a mind too sharp for his own good. Naruto was smart. That much had been obvious. A genius really. Much like many children the Sandame had known, Konoha seemed adept at making them, though keeping Tama. He sighed. A genius, who had in the past 6 months since the academy started, managed to make a name for himself with his skill and prowess. A genius who had made it clear that he was the best, a genius who had found 2 other such prodigies and then brought them up high with Hime all at the tender age of 6. In 6 months Naruto had skyrocketed, his skills had climbed and the boy seemed nowhere near stopping anytime soon. Not only that, but he'd managed to drag 2 other children along with him. Sasuke, Fugaku's youngest child, and Sakura, daughter of AMBU, the head of the civilian council. The 3 of them dominated their class, and soon the 3 of them would be ninja. In truth, it was really unavoidable. Considering who his parents were, Naruto was without a doubt going to be powerful, even if he had somehow managed to not inherit any of Minato and Kushina's intellect. Yet he had, and now things would get bothersome. People had already started taking notice, and already connections were being made. Whispers and rumors were spreading, and the faster Naruto grew, the more powerful he became. It had occurred to him to deny the early graduation request. No doubt the boy was ready for early graduation, he was skilled enough. Smart enough too. However, loose dots could be connected fast, and it wouldn't take anyone too long to see the similarities between him and his father. Especially so if he showed incredible talent at a young age. But the boy, the cunning, amusing annoyance that he was, had been prepared for this. He'd had his friends, they were friends yes, but he was obviously in control of the little group of prodigies. They were his friends and teammates, as well as his lackeys. He'd had them sign and fill it out as well. Word spreads fast within the council circle, and those around them. 3 prodigies all friends, all attempting to graduate at the same time. Noah he had to sign. He let out a sigh. Naruto reminded him too much another young prodigy he knew. One who he'd held pride in, and one who when it came to it, he had been too weak to kill. He took a deep breath of his pipe and leaned back, deep into his chair. In truth, the boy worried him. He seemed as two-faced as the report on him implied. Going from joking youngster, to beyond his years in an instant. Able to switch between laughter and cold-hearted calculation in a heartbeat. Was the boy a cold calculating individual beneath a fa section 8 of laughter? Much like Orochimaru? Or was he like his father, able to press that mental button, able to chill himself like ice and focus solely on what lay before him? For now, the Sandaime gave him the benefit of a doubt. But still, he would watch and be cautious of his blonde ward. 4x Naruto XXX. The 3 of them stood out in the examination center. The older children looked at them skeptically, brows raised and slight smirks on their faces. He smirked back, his eyes staring them down. He looked left, then right, and his smirk turned into a grin when he noticed both Sakura and Sasuke doing the same. He'd wondered if he was doing the right thing, pushing for early graduation. He'd pondered it for weeks, talked about it with Kurama, and still, he wasn't sure if this was right. But he had no other choice. He was above and beyond, and without a doubt in the following year they'd be placing him on course for early graduation. He'd rather he do it on his own terms, so he colluded a bit. Why not graduate early with his team? So over the past 6 months he trained hard, and trained his friends harder. They were too small for proper physical training, but cardio and sparring were good starts. It would be enough for them to skate by. Chakra exercises both raised their reserves and honed their skills with their life essence. Already his reserves were Chunin levels, and Sasuke's were Genin. Sakura's was nowhere near that, but her control far surpassed the 2 of them and made up for it. They were ready, they would pass, and they would blaze into the future. They'd grow strong, and make names for themselves, and when Obito finally came out of the shadows he'd kill him. End it even if it cost him his life. But first he looked left again. You ready? Of course we are. Sakura's voice was confident. Are you nervous, Naruto? Sasuke's smirk was mocking. I'd be stupid not to. Let's go take a seat. The exams start soon. Don't worry about the written portion, it's not weighed as heavily as the physical evaluations. A simple 75 should be enough for us to pass. But you don't want us to get a simple 75. You want us to dominate this exam, don't you? Just passing it isn't enough. He laughed. Sakura knew him too well. Let's show them that we're above and beyond. Let's go kick some ass and take some names. Oh, my god. You didn't just say that. She and Sasuke were laughing now. He pouted. Sakura knew how to kill his mood so easily. We're in testing room 3. Let's go. They followed, and after a few minutes they found their testing room. The large number 3 adorned above its sliding doors. Quiet mutters could be heard from the other side. He slid it open, and the room fell silent as he walked in. He looked around and stared each and every single person in the room down. Mutters rose more as Sakura and Sasuke followed him inside. They sat together, ignored the stares of the older students around them, and talked quietly amongst themselves. You guys ready? Stop asking us that. Of course we are. Sasuke said, voice filled with annoyance. I'm just making sure. Stop worrying, Naruto. You can pass no problem. It's not me I'm worried about. He grimaced when he realized how that sounded. He looked at Sakura and Sasuke, they seemed annoyed, to say the least. Well, fuck you too. He gasped. Sasuke almost never cursed so blatantly. His insults were wittier, better timed and less blunt. He almost laughed, he'd apparently riled up the Uchiha. I meant no harm. We know Naruto, you're just a socially inept ass. Apparently, Sakura was mad too. She never cursed, never. He smiled and ignored it. Then the two of them blossomed into wide-toothed smiles similar to his. A Chunin entered a few minutes later and they took their seats. They sat next to each other, Naruto and Sasuke on the periphery with Sakura in the center. The Chunin, a tall lanky man with auburn hair and eyes to match, yelled to quiet the room down. And then he flared his chakra and killing intent when only a few became silent. This, he shouted. For some of you this is the beginning of your ninja careers. All of you are here because you meet the minimum preliminary requirements for you to take the graduation exam. That does not mean that you meet the requirements to graduate. Some of you are here for early graduation. Naruto could practically feel the room full of eyes on the three of them. Do take note that despite physical limits you must still meet the requirements of the exam. One portion of which is taijutsu based. You must show exemplary taijutsu skills. Not simply for your age or stature, but as a whole. Naruto almost laughed at that. That wouldn't be a problem for them. Naruto's taijutsu form was quick and painful, his blows were vicious and left no room for the opponent to escape. Sasuke's was the darting precise style meant for use with the Uchiha clan's Sharingan. Sakura she was the weakest link if you could call what she did weak. While not vicious like his, or precise like Sasuke's, she made up for it with chakra-laced punches, and a perfect academy style. They would have no issues with the taijutsu portion of the exam. As the exam papers were being passed around, he looked at Sakura, then Sasuke. We've got this. XXX Fugaku XXX. He was not a blind man. He was a ninja. More importantly, he was an Uchiha. He could see, quite clearly, the changes in people, and the changes in his son. Sasuke had always been a smart boy, not a genius like his brother, and Fugaku often admitted had Itachi been normal or not born at all, would have been seen as a herald of the Uchiha clan. He was very talented, just not prodigious like his brother. At least, that had been the assumption he had made. But assumptions could be wrong, and an Uchiha had no shame in admitting his wrongness as long as he learned and made up from this mistake. Sasuke was a genius. He just needed another, different type of genius to bring about his own natural inherent talent. The Uzumaki boy was that genius. It was obvious whose son he was. That blonde hair, those blue eyes, that intellect. Even if his wife had not known Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato, he would have known. Who did the Hokage think he was kidding? Only out of willful ignorance and denial would you not be able to connect the rather obvious clues, or perhaps lack thereof. The boy had brought out the best in Sasuke, and it had changed him. Once his son had looked up at him in awe and reserved hope, but that seemed so distant now. Now his son looked at him in not contempt, not fear or respect. Yes, in respect, and sudden understanding of the power he held. And yet, another understanding that soon, in a few short years, and indeed how short were those years, he would surpass the power of his father. The same look Itachi had given him around that age. The sun crawled lazily through the sky and, for a brief moment, a bell rang. Then the sounds of children running out of school grounds accompanied his thoughts. He watched the examination room empty in disinterest. Then, a short excited form, much smaller than the other children, exited. Followed by a mop of pink and finally the deep rich obsidian black that was his son's hair. On all of their foreheads were the shiny new forehead protectors that marked them as new ninja of Konoha. He smiled, as expected. Sasuke spotted him. A look of surprise was marked on his face as he did so, but still he grabbed his friends and pulled them towards him. It took them only a minute to get to him. He smiled, and Sasuke again seemed surprised. He rarely smiled at all. Such things should be held for truly rare occasion, and this he deemed as one of them. "San." His son seemed to be at a loss for words. "I came to pick you up today. Your mother is busy with dinner preparations. I see you passed, as did your friends. He nodded at the pink-haired girl, and turned his attention to the blonde. Blue eyes stared into his, and had he been anyone else, he would have gasped. For a brief moment, they analyzed each other, blue against deep, almost black, brown. The boy's face was solemn as he observed him, as if he was peering into his soul and judging him. Evaluating him, his entire life, his faults and failures and success. Then a frown was on the boy's face, followed by a smile. Then, as if nothing had happened, his face returned to normal. But those he'd seen those eyes on the face of someone else. Those eyes that said a decision had been made, that a train of momentum that started with just a thought had begun. He'd seen those same eyes in the face of Namikaze Minato. He looked away, he just couldn't peer into those eyes. Then, both the girl and the blonde bowed. Hello Uchiha-san, Sama. The boy had let the san trail. He wanted Fugaku to know that his station as head of the Uchiha clan meant nothing to him, but still he held respect for the man. Hello, Uzumaki-san, formal only formal. Hello, Haruno-san. He turned to Sasuke. Uzumaki-kun, Sochi, we must not dally. Your mother has worked hard on this meal, Sasuke, and Itachi will be there as well. Ni-san's home? The sound of surprise in his voice made him chuckle. Fugaku saw them looking at each other. Two birds of the same feather, two adults in the skins of children, because what else could he call minds like that? Itachi, his son, watched with interest, his cold, black eyes staring into pools of sky blue. They both kept quiet and looked at each other. Then, all of a sudden, the Uzumaki boy smiled, and his son did, too, which was a surprise. Itachi had not smiled for a long time. Thank you, Fugaku-san, for having me over to your house. And I thank you for accepting my invitation. I hope your meal is tasty, my home is comfortable, my family is nice, and you have a good time here, Fugaku said with a smile. That was an old mantra that was at least as old as Konoha. The boy kept going. Your house is beautiful, your family is very nice, and I'm sure your meal will be delicious. Good, good. You and Sasuke-kun should go wash up before we eat. When you come back, we'll talk about what needs to be talked about and do what needs to be done. My wife should be done by then. They came back after a few minutes, and the Uzumaki bowed again. The meal they were about to eat was simple. There was rice and steamed tuna, and the vegetables were lightly fried. As was the norm, he waited for his guest to eat before he did. The boy also waited, and while he did, he looked at each piece of food and smelled it. Then he smiled. The blonde turned to his wife and said, "That's a great meal, Uchiha-sama. My mouth is watering just thinking about it." He picked up his chopsticks and slowly started to eat his food. Fugaku came next, and then his wife and kids joined him at the table. They ate in silence, and when they were done, Makoto started to pick up the plates. Then Fugaku decided to talk to the young blonde girl. Uzumaki-san, tell me, what are your hopes and dreams? Before he spoke again, he stopped for a moment and let the boy look at him. The boy's blue eyes looked into Fugaku, looking for something. I want to protect my precious people. I want to get so strong that no one can touch them, and I want to make them so strong that no one will even think about touching them. I want to protect Konoha and her people. I want to make my friends and old man Hokage proud. His voice started out strong and stayed that way. Even though the voice was small and had a high pitch, Fugaku could still tell how serious the boy was about his goals. Those are good dreams, Naruto-kun, a voice said. It was his son's voice. Itachi didn't talk at all during dinner, and when he did, Fugaku could see his son's eyes looking at the Uzumaki. When their eyes met, they seemed to share a deep understanding, and Fugaku felt a little lost. Set adrift at sea, he was hit by an ocean of the unknown. He felt sick to his stomach. He looked at Sasuke, who had the same look on his face. I hope you'll be able to reach them. Both Sasuke and Naruto said at the same time, he will. Fugaku felt lost. It looked like something had happened, but what? Commandeer between similar minds. A gathering of lost people? He sighed in frustration and then took a quick look at the clock. It looks like it's getting late. Why don't you take Naruto-kun home, Itachi? Of course, father. Both his oldest son and Naruto stood up. Can I go with you? Ask your father. Fugaku took another look at his sons and the blonde. Then he nodded his head, and both he and Sasuke stood up. A few minutes later, the three people left the room. As they left, his wife came back. So? He gave himself a smile as he looked at her. I like him, and I think he's going to go far. he said with a laugh. He was watching us, judging us, and I think he liked what he saw. He thought we were important enough for him to protect, which I didn't understand at first, but Itachi and Sasuke did. Really? His wife's voice was just a little bit happy. He wants to protect us? Maybe in the future, but right now he's a child. That's the thing. He's a child right now, but time goes by quickly, and soon that child will be a man. What then? His wife stopped talking for a while. Yes. He stood up and gave her a kiss. The future looks like it will be interesting. Scarecrow under the light of the full moon, blood dripped from his sword. His mask was made of white porcelain and had more seals on it than he could count. It was stuck to his face tightly. Deep blood red swirls went from its cheeks to its beak. Its face was made up of two big black circles. Green ink swirled around its face in a way that made it look like it had feathers. His black cloak was stained with blood and smelled like death. This smell kept coming back over and over again. Tonight went on for a long time. As he jumped to the side, his Sharingan was spinning in his head at the same time. A beam of thundering light turned the night blue and white. He didn't even know that his body was moving, acting, and killing. At times like this, he turned into a machine. A sign that death is coming. Before the body hit the ground, and Earth just ate it. More blood. When the machine stopped, his body started to move again. He was a robot. More blood. He wasn't Kakashi Hatake. Failure. More blood. He was just the Scarecrow, the one who killed people. Scarecrow, the killer of many people. Scarecrow, the one who drinks blood and leaves widows. He moved to the right, grabbed the arm, and then used pure lightning manipulation to cut through it. After a half-second scream, the night went quiet, and his blade was in her throat. His jutsu once again ate her body. A river of beautiful red-colored life ambrosia and precious life essence. He wasn't Kakashi Hatake. He was a Scarecrow. He was an AMBU. He was death, so he didn't have to think about anything. To feel bad, to know he had done wrong. To have Rin's blood on his hands. Too busy killing people. In the dark, his blade flashed, and a head fell off of its body. A cry. A scream of pain that isn't clear. He was gone right away. No one died on his squad because he was a Scarecrow. Ramen had a deep cut in her side and was looking around frantically for her enemy. Get your head out of your behind, newbie, and calm down, he said. Looking, and looking. Stupid, stupid, stupid. Ramen was stupid to get cut with a blade that had lightning chakra in it. He was stupid to come right over and help her instead of sneaking up on her opponent from the side and taking them by surprise. Cloud Junin is an idiot for not hiding his chakra well enough. In an instant, he was gone. His foot hit Shunshin, who was too strong for it. The Junin grunted and grabbed the foot, but it was too late. He had already changed into a cage bunshin at the same time his hit landed. It blew up, and the sound could be heard all through the forest. He was no more. His blood was all over the forest floor. Scarecrow looked to the left and saw that Ramen was still on the ground, where her blood was slowly pooling. He groaned. Rookie, that's a skin wound in this business. Get your sh*T together. Come on, you won't die. Ranger will fix you up. No one in Squad 1 has ever died, and I won't start with you today. Get your sh*T together, get your ass up, and move. He held out a hand, and she shakily took it. Tenzo fell from the tree up above. Scarecrow looked at him from behind his mask, gave his hand a few jerks, and the masked AMBU ran away. What the hell happened to you, rookie? How did you let him get close enough to cut you, then lose him a few seconds later? You might as well have painted a target on your back and walked around naked for all the good basic training you got. Rose fell to the ground as he yelled at Ramen. She had a laugh. Don't worry, rookie. Trust me, Senpai gets on all of our asses the first couple of months, especially after we mess up. Fix her up, Rose. If you don't, it will take us 2 weeks to get to Konoha. Kakashi, he was dripping with blood quickly and hard. The water burned his skin, and no matter how much of the rough soap he used to clean himself, he could still smell like blood. As he always did, he scrubbed like crazy. He hated the feeling of shame he had after the mission, not the feeling of regret. When he was done with his job, he felt like he was going to die. When he was Scarecrow and on a mission, he put on the mask. He turned into a machine that did what he needed to do for Konoha. He wasn't the reason Kakashi failed. He wasn't Kakashi the weakling. He wasn't Kakashi, the guy who let his best friend die and then killed the woman he loved a few years later. He wasn't Kakashi, who promised to watch his sensei's son and then ran away because he couldn't stand to look into those two blue eyes that looked way too much like his father's. He was just a scarecrow back then. All by itself. He got out of the shower, walked to his locker, and put on his clothes while looking bored. He let out a sigh and began to slowly walk toward the AMBU barracks. His room was very Spartan. It was mostly a concrete cell tucked away in the very back of the barracks. He laid down on his thin futon and put his sword in the scabbard on the far wall. Before he fell asleep, he stared up at the bare concrete for what seemed like an eternity. After a while, a loud knock on his door woke him up. He looked around the room again, then reached for his white porcelain mask and put it on. In a few moments, he had his sword on his back, and when the doorbell rang, he answered it with the usual lack of enthusiasm. Scarecrow. Hi. AMBU number 4, 2, 5, and Alpha. Hi. The tall AMBU with the gray mask dropped the red scroll he was holding. He tried to calm down by taking a deep breath. A call. A call from the Sandame. When he looked up again, the AMBU with the gray mask was gone. He looked back at his empty cell and then at the red scroll he was holding. He felt sick to his stomach. Too soon. It was too damn soon. Fuck. When he walked into his office on a clear Shunshin, the Sandame sat at his desk. The grandfather-looking monster on the battlefield looked up from what he was doing to look at him. His eyes were kind and soft, but his face was serious, and Kakashi's heart dropped even more. Take off your mask, Scarecrow. His breath made his throat tighten. On duty, an AMBU was never allowed to take off his mask. The Hokage was never supposed to tell an AMBU to take off his mask unless they were at war or the AMBU was being fired. With those 4 words, his time in AMBU was over. His time as a scarecrow was over. His heart was beating fast, his chest hurt, and he wanted to scream, beg, and shout at the old cage standing in front of him. He didn't do it, and he couldn't. His pride stopped him, his will stopped him, and those kind, deep brown eyes with their hard, stern look stopped him as well. He took off his mask, and the Sandame smoked his pipe for a long time. Kakashi. That was the end of it. He was kicked out of AMBU. He's out of school now, Kakashi. Minato's son is way too much like his parents, Kakashi said. Sensei's child. Naruto of the Sandame stood up. I'm not kicking you out of AMBU, Kakashi. I'm giving you a choice and asking you for a favor. He walked around his dark mahogany desk and stopped in front of his windows. Naruto-kun has graduated, and so have 2 other young people who are smart and talented, but not quite as much as him. I can't, Hokage-sama, I'm sorry. His words were cut off by killing intent. He took another long drag from his pipe. He let the silence last as long as possible, enjoying his tobacco and letting its sweet cherry smell fill the room. Hokage-sama, he said, I want to kill you, and then he went quiet again. He felt his heartbeat in his chest. I need your help, Kakashi-kun. I had 3 like them and failed horribly. I may be old, but I'm not stupid. I learn from my mistakes. This team, Kakashi, will be great. I can feel it in these tired, old bones. When they're older, they'll be the main powers in Konoha. Whoever teaches them now, will also stand in a place like this. When he spoke again, he almost sounded sad. Then there's Naruto-kun. He's brilliant, Kakashi. Smart, hardworking, driven, attentive. Really attentive. He notices the looks people give him, but he thinks about it. I wouldn't be surprised if he knows the truth about who and what he is. That worries me, Kakashi. Can you imagine Minato's son, a prodigy, going against the village because of their fear and anger? Can you imagine him doing so? Sensei Sona, I need someone I can trust not to take advantage of him. I need someone I can trust not to hurt him and to lead him and his team of little geniuses in the right direction, down the path of the will of fire. I need someone I can trust to protect them, with their lives. I need you, Kakashi, I do. But it's up to you to make that choice. I can't make it for you. He moved away from the window and sat down. He looked at Kakashi with deep, dark, gray pools of eyes that were full of hope. Team assignments are in 2 days, and you have 24 hours to decide. If you decide not to take me up on my offer, I'll send you back to AMBU, and I won't bother you again. You are fired. Naruto, he had never been more worried about being on a team. He was sure they wouldn't break them up, but he didn't know for sure. He had changed the timeline a lot, graduated as soon as he could, and pulled Sakura and Sasuke along with him. He was sure that the Uchiha, the Hokage, and Sakura's mother would use their political power to push them together. At least, he hoped that was what would happen. So, at 8 a.m., when the dew was still on the grass, he sat in a big desk and held his breath as he watched the nameless chunin in front of the class call out names. His stomach felt like it was in a vice. Team 7, Uzumaki Naruto, Uchiha Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura. Team Sensei, Kakashi Hatake. He said in a breath. Team 7, Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha, and Sakura Haruno. He looked up at the three little kids who were sitting in seats for pre-teens and clicked his tongue. Naruto made a smirking face and leaned back in his chair. You were right. Sasuke seemed to be impressed. I was. So, Sasuke said, drawing out the sound. So? He looked annoyed and asked, what's our sensei like? Naruto couldn't help but laugh. What makes you think that I know? Sakura whispered in his ear, you always know. Stop being a jerk and just tell us, Naruto. She seemed just as upset as Sasuke, which made him sigh. He'll be a little late. After everyone leaves, the best thing we can do is go get lunch and come back, maybe even take a nap. Lunch and a nap? That seems way too late to me. He won't be as late as he usually is, he thought. He looked up and saw that senseis were already coming and going with their students. Let's go get some lunch, and then we'll head back. Lunch was fine, but the talk kept coming back to the person who would soon be their teacher. Sasuke, Sakura, and he were all worried, and they had good reason to be. When they went back into the classroom, there was only one team left. They looked over at the team and then sat down. A few minutes later, a Junin with dark hair came and took them away. His face was red and he looked a little embarrassed. After an hour, Kakashi came. Just as he walked into the academy building, Naruto could feel him. His chakra was like an old friend that he could never forget. He's there. Sakura looked like she was mad. He's also going to be more than 2 hours late. Sorry, Ma. I got a little lost on the way, she shrieked, and they turned to see where the voice was coming from. I'm Kakashi, your Junin sensei. Come meet me on the roof. In reality, Kakashi Hatake was late because it was so hard to return AMBU equipment because of all the rules and regulations. The process was a pain because it took 12 pages of paperwork that had to be filled out 3 times. It was made to be as stupid, slow, and hard as possible so that weak-hearted or lazy people would have enough time and chances to quit and come back to the service. So he was late, but not as much as the rest of his team thought. He got there just as they were leaving for lunch, so he went with them. They talked and joked like old friends and worked well together. Moved like a team of shinobi in the basic arrowhead shape, with Naruto in front. He then kept an eye on them in their classroom, doing things slowly to see if they would notice him. Naruto finally saw him after he had been slowly raising his chakra signature for an hour. Still, he had come to one conclusion after seeing them. They were very cute. Just like how wolf pups were cute. Even though they were small, they had razor-sharp teeth, and even though they were drinking milk now, they would soon be tearing the flesh off of living people. He wasn't the kind of person to be easily charmed by small children, but when he looked down at them, he couldn't help but notice how cute they were. Especially Sensei's son. On top of the academy building, his spiky blonde hair shone like gold. His eyes were the color of the sky, and they seemed to shine with determination and purpose. He had a serious look on his face, but his small features made it look more like a pout. My name is Kakashi Hatake, and you should call me Kakashi Sensei. Introductions are awkward, don't you think? So let's get this over with. Tell me what you like, what you don't like, what your dreams are, and what's interesting about you. He looked at all 3 of them. His head was already full of ideas. How would he teach them? How could he protect the son of his teacher? How was he going to train them to be hired killers? Start, you blonde. We know everything about each other already, Sensei. Why don't you start? Huh. Did you say something? They could have killed him with the blank look they gave him. He laughed, and then he left the room. People were always bothered by the silence, so they moved around uncomfortably. He was figuring out what kind of people they were and what made them tick. Before the boy began, he heard him say, asshole, under his breath. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I like ramen, my friends Sakura and Sasuke, and my dream is to get strong enough to protect my friends no matter what. Something interesting about me. Well, I'm a time traveler. So he got his sense of humor from Kushina, now you pinko. Her anger grew, but she took a deep breath to calm down and then spoke. My name is Sakura Haruno, not pinko, she spit out as if it were a swear word. I like training with my friends Naruto and Sasuke. I don't like being late, I don't know what my dream is, but I want to be strong like them. I don't want to be left behind. Something interesting about me is that. Well, I guess I don't have anything interesting about me either. Sakura-chan, don't be sad. You're very interesting. They were close. Thanks. He knew, and it seemed like Naruto was what kept them all together. Finally, the ugliest duckling. They reminded him of his old team and didn't remind him of his old team at the same time. They worked better together, they were friends, and he couldn't really tell who was the him on this team. They were not the same. They were what his team could have been if Obito hadn't died. If he hadn't been forced to kill Rin, Sensei wouldn't have died when he gave up his son to save his village. Naruto said something blasphemous like, I'm Uchiha Sasuke. My life is my friends and training. So far, the only thing I don't like is miso ramen. The color orange, Naruto said again, and normal tomatoes. My dream is to get strong so I can make my family proud and protect my friends. One interesting thing about me is that I'm the only one who can control our genius idiot. No, that's not right. Not one can keep me in check. Kakashi smiled under his mask. This wasn't so bad, he decided. And looking at Naruto didn't squeeze his chest like it used to, it was looser now. More manageable. Looking at the three, Kakashi's mind raced. It was so obvious that they would pass the second genin test that he thought about not giving it to them at all. But the paperwork, if he didn't, he decided not to. You're almost a genin, but you still have to take a second test. If you fail, you will have to go back to the academy. He didn't think he had scared them. To a group of 7-year-olds, one more year at the academy wasn't a big deal. Graduating at 7 or 8 was still a big deal. Tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock, meet me at training ground 7. Avoid being late. And I think you shouldn't eat anything because you'll throw up. He looked them over, smiled a little to himself, and walked up to the rooftop railing. See you then, he said, then leaned back and fell off. It was best to leave a little mystery for them. He landed on the ground quietly, and when he looked up, he saw the three of them walking down the walls with blank expressions on their faces. That's not going to impress us, sensei. Naruto was really a mix of Minato and Kushina. Doshita, it was her job to keep secrets. She was an old woman who had been born around the time Konoha was founded. She'd seen her brother die in the first Shinobi War when she was a genin, fought in the second, and had her daughter killed in the third. She knew all of Konoha's dirty little secrets and dark, shadowy deeds. She was old, and she knew, and she would always know until the day she died. But she loved her village, and she would have died for it. She was the head librarian. It wasn't a very important job, it didn't pay much, and you had to work as late and hard as the Hokage. But it had to be done, and she was happy to do it. His son seemed to follow in his footsteps, taking chakra theory and control scrolls and writing them down or memorizing them before returning them to the library. She let him think he could do it as long as he didn't take anything dangerous and put the scrolls back in the same place he found them. Usually, she would turn away, but she had to do something this time. No 6-year-old should be taking a scroll on seal theory, even an introductory one. So, she followed the boy until he went into a quiet alley. She realized he was leading her there, so he knew she was following him. She smiled, he was very smart for someone so young. Ah, Naruto-kun. Could you and I talk? He looked at her with a cautious face. His left hand was on his waist, ready to draw and throw a kunai in a second. She raised an eyebrow at that. No matter how skilled they were, a new genin shouldn't be that paranoid. Shinobi get paranoid as they get older. Doshita-san. Why do you keep coming after me? His voice seemed innocent, and if she hadn't known what was going through his mind, she might have thought he was a child. Naruto-kun, please don't play that game with me. So far, I've let you do whatever you want because none of it has been too dangerous. But seal theory? You're only 7, kid. You're too young to start doing things like that. I'd be stupid not to give it back to you. He looked at her with his blue eyes, scanned her, and then changed, or at least his eyes did. Please, Mr. Doshita-san. I need this scroll, he said in a slow, cool voice. His eyes looked at her with cold calculation. She shivered, because she'd seen those eyes on his father. They're not safe. Doshita-san, you're a fool. Do I seem like a fool? No, he didn't seem like a fool. She had always thought of him as a smart but fun-loving child. But when she looked at him now, she realized she hadn't quite seen the intelligence hidden there. She had a sinking feeling she wasn't quite getting it all yet. His eyes bore into her, he seemed to peel her back layer by layer. Blue, deep, deep blue, like a frozen, barren ice field. Naruto-kun, Give me back the scroll. He looked at her again, seemed to think about something, and then his hard, cold eyes changed back, leaving a soft blue sky. Okay. Doshita-san. He put out his hand and rolled up his shoulder. She had to force herself not to look surprised. A small seal was written on his shoulder. He bit his thumb, ran blood over it, and in a puff of smoke the scroll was back in his hand. He gave it to her. I'm sorry, Doshita-san, but it won't happen again. His words said one thing, but the hidden message was clear. I'm already past that scroll. I don't need it. She looked at his face and frowned. How long? How long had he been doing such dangerous things? About a few months. She was old, so nothing surprised her. But in just a few months, he had learned to write, shrink seal matrices, and even create space-time seal matrices. This took most people years, and even his own father a year, but the boy had done it in just a few months. On the one hand, a talent like that couldn't be ignored or wasted. She would have to talk to the Hokage. A few months, huh? She held the scroll in her hand and rolled it over his calloused palms and wrinkled skin. She couldn't stop looking at him, couldn't stop staring at him. She gave the scroll back to him. Come talk to me before you read any more about Fuinjutsu, she said, looking down at him and sighing. You're a troublesome little boy, you know that? Am I? He was a mischievous little brat. Sakura. Dawn was a scary time in Konoha. Only shinobi and merchants were out and about, doing their best to get ready for the day. The streets of Konoha seemed strangely empty. This made her feel uneasy, so she moved through the rooftops as quickly as she could. She found them sitting under a tree in the far left corner of the training grounds. Their heads were buried in scrolls, and every once in a while, they'd take some food from a bento box that Sasuke's mother had probably made. Naruto felt her fist, and he looked up with eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light of the early morning. Sakura-chan. He jumped up high and crossed the distance between them in a single bound. Naruto was too fast. You're also early. Yeah. I thought that if I was late, Sensei would be mad, so I wanted to get there early, in case. Why don't you join us for dinner? The best food ever is made by Sasuke's mom. Hurry up. Saying no to Naruto was like asking the sun not to shine or be hot. You could try all you wanted, but in the end, both the sun and he would keep doing what they wanted. She was afraid to eat, but Naruto and Sasuke were there, so she took a bite. It was delicious. To think that you three would be so hungry so early in the morning. She jumped because she hadn't even noticed that their sensei was there. Out of the corner of her eye, she saw Naruto pop the last of his food into his mouth with a happy whoop. He looked over them like a tree, tall and thin. His eyes seemed curious, and everywhere he looked, he seemed to be analyzing them. Oh well, he said, pulling bells and a small sundial from his back pocket. This test is over when the shadow of the dial reaches 12. Your test is to take these bells. Those who have them at noon pass and become genin. Those who don't fail and have to go back to the academy. His eyes were as hard as steel as he spoke, and she shivered as a coldness she'd never felt before pressed down on her. Come at me with the intent to kill, or you won't pass this test. Kakashi-sensei looked up at the sky at dawn. While they had been waiting for her, the sun had crept forward a little bit. Now, shades of rich red were mixing and blending to make a bandana of colors across the sky. Reds, blues, and purples. Begin. She ran off, disappearing into the underbrush. Her small legs pushed her as hard as they could, and she ran into the forest a few feet. Suddenly, she jumped, putting her feet on a tree and running up to its canopy. From there, she looked down at the training grounds. Naruto hadn't hidden himself. He hadn't moved at all. He just stood there, staring at his sensei. They seemed to be talking, and she tried hard to hear what they were saying. You do know that you should be hidden, don't you? Her sensei's voice seemed disappointed in him. I know, he said, not noticing or caring about their tone of voice. But what's the point? We just got out of the academy, we're not even genin yet, and you're a junin. Even if we tried to hide the best we could, you'd find us in seconds, even if you have a crappy sensor. She cursed, jumped down from the tree, and went deeper into the forest. Naruto was buying them time because she had to meet up with Sasuke. So you're going to face me directly? No, Naruto said, as if Kakashi had said something very stupid for no reason. That's even dumber. You're a junin, so I can't fight you. You told us we had to get the bells, but you didn't tell us how. So, could I have a bell, please? The only thing that broke the silence was her heavy breathing. She took deep breaths to calm herself down. She needed to be quiet because she needed to find Sasuke. As she ran, she thought about the problems her sensei had given her. Who would get the bells, if they could even get them? Their sensei seemed to think for a few seconds before saying, "No, I apologize. You'll have to work hard to learn it." Naruto and Sasuke deserved them, but would they take them if she couldn't go with them? She didn't think so, because Naruto wouldn't and Sasuke was just as kind under his cold exterior. She decided she'd have to convince them. They'd make a good two-man team. She stopped suddenly when she had an idea. In Konoha, there were no three-person genin teams. Instead, there were three-person chunin teams, four-person genin teams, and a variety of other teams and apprenticeships. If a teammate died, the team couldn't go on missions until a replacement was found, unless it was wartime. Oh, well, I guess it didn't hurt to try. Then there was a loud explosion that made her temporarily deaf. She had to find the boys because the test wasn't over yet. Naruto seals that went off on their own were the easiest to make. They were also one of the hardest to change. Any idiot with enough time, a good eye, a steady hand, and some fuin paper could make an explosive tag. The seal matrix wasn't compressed and packaged very tightly. What you saw was what you got, because that's what an explosive tag is. From a tree 15 yards away from their sensei, he watched as his clone. It was a mud clone, a technique he'd made sure AMBU had seen him practicing after seeing it, and reading theory. The clone was a piece of crap, barely working, only able to take his shape and hold the most basic conversations. Kakashi sensei had seen the henge, but he either let him try his tricks or didn't care. It was more likely that he let him try, though. As soon as his clone exploded, he moved. The fireball had reached up about 10 feet and left a 5-foot wide and 3-foot deep crater. He went to find his team with a small grin on his face. He could feel Sasuke's chakra because it was like a cool night breeze and he'd spent so much time with the boy that it was like second nature. It would be harder to find Sakura because she'd gotten really good at hiding her signature over the past year, while he and Sasuke had worked on getting more chakra and learning how to control it. Sakura, on the other hand, had worked on getting more control over her feet. She could already water walk and cast juts. He would soon have to get her to do more exercises. Sasuke was 12 yards away. To hide his scent, he had crossed a stream that looped around the training ground and fed into its small lake. Sasuke seemed to be moving towards him, which meant Sakura would be able to sense them. Once they were together, Kakashi sensei would probably step in after a few minutes. The man had changed from what he remembered. No, that wasn't it. The man hadn't yet changed into what he remembered. From what he could tell, his sensei was fresh from AMBU. The smell of blood clung to him. His nonchalant attitude had seemed forced, more like an act than anything else. A very good act, but he'd seen the man as he really was, and it was easy to tell when his memory was so clear. He sighed. He was only 2 yards away from Sasuke, but he could already feel Sakura-chan and see his friend and teammate with black hair. Sasuke turned his head just as he and Sakura got there. As she landed, Sakura called out, "The test isn't about the bells. There's something we're missing. There are no genin teams with 3 people. It's about working together," he said. Everyone looked at him. "We should at least try to see if we can work together to get something done." Sasuke took a look at them both. "You two, you're the only people my age who make me feel dumb, do you know that?" He smirked back. "It's okay, Sasuke. I won't tell anyone else that you're stupid. It'll be our little secret." Sasuke gave him a mean look and then turned around. He laughed, and he could hear Sakura laughing along with him in a low voice. "If he doesn't work well with others, let's show him what we can do." Kakashi, they had something in mind. His little wolf pups are so cute. The 3 of them were huddled together about 20 yards away from him, which was a good distance. So far away that a chunin who didn't know who he was wouldn't even realize they were there. They did a pretty good job of keeping their chakra hidden. He sat in a tree branch, and every few minutes, his chakra pulsed to give them a hint about where he was. Even though it wasn't much, Naruto seemed to be pretty good at sensing. That mud clone pretending to be Naruto was a smart move. He knew it was a distraction, but the explosive tags were a surprise. In reality, Kakashi had never thought a 7-year-old could get explosive tags. He would have to find out where the boy got them, because they seemed to be dangerous and a lot stronger than usual. He was hungry. They started to move. There were little chakra flames running through the forest. They found him, and a few minutes later, huge explosions started to go off in parts of the forest. As sensei, it was his job to pay for any major damage to the training grounds that happened while his students were still genin. He tsked in irritation. Thump, thump, thumpa short explosions that sounded like fireworks. Fireworks that are big and expensive. He moved. They tried to get him to come out, but he went to them. He quickly showed up in front of Naruto. Before the boy even knew he was there, his foot was already moving. He had to hold back so his little chest wouldn't cave in, but he'd feel that way for a good week after this. He disappeared again and gave Sasuke a backhand, but Sasuke pulled back when a kunai flew by his head. He turned himself into a log and threw himself at Sakura when he saw a flash of red. As soon as she saw him move, the girl turned herself into a big log. He had to admit that they were fast. This time, both Sasuke and Naruto sent out kunai. He dodged a few, but when he saw the thin ninja wire reflecting light, he clenched his teeth in anger. He started to push the kunai away, but after a 5-1 exploded in his face and he had to shushin back. Almost, they had him. Shrapnel made a thin line of blood run down his face. The tree he was standing on blew up, so he had to start over again. He jumped back as a pink blur flew by him quickly. Her arm went for the bells, but he pushed it away. He cursed when he felt the familiar feeling of an active exploding tag in his hands. He flicked it away just as two blurs, one black and one blonde, zoomed toward him. He heard, Kaiten, Gokaki no Jutsu, roaring, and he cursed. His teammate was in the way, you idiot. He jumped to the left and grabbed Naruto with him as the black blur turned into a raging fire. When he looked down, he saw that the boy and the bells were gone. He looked up and saw his new genin team's tired faces. They had little grins on their faces. Sensei, we got them. Yes, Ma, you did. But who gets the bells? Sasuke made a funny face, and Naruto and Sakura laughed. He had to force himself not to smile. Not at all like his old team. They were better by a long shot. Sakura said, the bells don't matter, that wasn't the test. Sasuke continued where she had stopped. It was about working as a team, and the bells just got in the way. He stopped and looked up at the sky. You're right, I guess you pass then. It was getting close to noon. He looked around at the half-ruined training ground and said, let's go get lunch to celebrate. I'll pay. That would also be his fault. He thought that this wasn't so bad. He still missed being Scarecrow, but as he was now, he thought he might be able to make up for what he had done wrong. He looked at his new team, which was made up of cute little puppies. Smiling and laughing and making jokes. He was almost chosen to be a Scarecrow.
So this was it for today. I will continue the story next part. Till then, be Weeb offline.